Okay, we're on.
We're on. Episode 2.
Episode 2 of, what's the name of the podcast?
That record got me high.
That record got me high.
That's Barry Stock.
That's Rob Elba.
Should we do it like that? Is that like corny to do it that way? I don't know. I feel like it's less narcissistic to introduce the other guy.
Yes, that's great.
Right?
Yeah, well, it's too late now because I'm not going back. So
Well,
your bright idea becomes ground in cement, right? Poured cement, right?
And so, how was your week?
My week was good.
We actually got to make some music together since the last podcast.
We did.
On stage. We actually played some music. It was one
Wow, was that since the last?
It was.
I got the chronology weird there because I would have.
Yeah, it was.
Was
right?
it 2 weeks ago that we were together?
Yeah. We're gonna have to do this more
Okay.
frequently, I think.
Right. Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure of it.
I thought it was last week.
I don't know. I thought it was after we did the initial thing, or no, it wasn't. All right, well, never mind. Anyway,
Ooh, this doesn't speak well of our cognitive abilities.
I think we may have to do this every week, so we'll know. So we'll be more
Okay.
in it. But whatever. Anyway, we had a good time.
We had a good time playing together with
Yes.
the Gold Dust Lounge.
Yes.
And I can say now so that he can't back out. That Russell has invited me to play on a May 12th gig.
Oh, nice.
With the
Look at
Gold
you.
Dust Lounge. So he wants me to play bass, which is weird because you're the bass player.
That's fine. That's fine.
No, he didn't say anything about that.
It would not surprise me.
No, I think it would be a surprise.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's get into the...
And our record du jour this week is one I picked.
Yes.
Which is Daydream Nation.
By Sonic Youth. I'm very excited. I was excited when you said it, and then when I revisited it, I was even more excited. Because
Me too.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen a lot where we're going to think of records and we're going to go, oh yeah, that's great. And then we're going to listen to it and go, oh my God, I forgot how great it was.
We briefly discussed doing a record that either we had never heard or that we didn't like. And I don't know. That maybe
Eventually, down the road. Down the road. We'll see. Maybe not like, but maybe haven't heard. And maybe that one guy is pretty sure. Like I'm sure there's probably records that you really like that I'm not familiar with that you would have a good idea that I would like.
Maybe.
As long as it's not Zappa.
Actually,
as long as it's not Frank Zappa.
Yeah, you're not going to go for that.
No.
And I'd probably be more likely to pick something you didn't like than you would be to pick something I didn't like.
That's probably true. Yeah, that's probably true. So anyway, Daydream Nation, fifth. It was Sonic Youth's fifth record. Came out in 1988.
Yep.
Which seems so long ago.
It was 30 years ago.
30 years.
So 30 times 365, 9,000, 10,000 days ago. Just to put a little cap on that.
Nice.
And it was a double album in the tradition of Zen Arcade, the Husker Du double, and Double Nickels on the Dime.
Yes, that's right. The trifecta of indie great records, great indie records. Right. And this definitely they have lots of good records, and the two records before this were really good. But
amazing records, yes.
Yeah, but this is kind of like their masterpiece.
It is. It's their London Calling. It's their another double album.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize, honestly, when you said it, I didn't realize that it was a double album. Like, I had forgotten because, I don't know, for some reason
That Daydream Nation was a double album?
Yeah, it was a double album because some of the songs are pretty long, so there's not as many songs that you would think would be on a double album.
I don't think it's a long double album. I mean, I remember, when you get done, you're like, okay, and I guess I had it on vinyl.
Me too. I had it on vinyl, and I think I also had it on a cassette too, because it was
that's
one of those,
probably
I would usually, because at the time I didn't have a CD player in my car, so I would do both. Look at that.
Yeah.
And now I don't buy anything.
Well, let's not say let's not get into methods of music consumption. We could get in trouble.
Right.
I listen to Spotify a lot.
Me too. I listened when I'm revisiting it this past week. That's what I was listening to on Spotify.
So I had heard Sonic Youth on Bad Mood Rising, which I think that you also had heard.
Yes.
Which is their second album.
Okay. That was before. I think that was even before they were on SST.
It
was
maybe. Yeah, it was on Touch and Go.
Okay.
Touch and Go out of Minneapolis, maybe.
I don't remember.
And then I had that one, and I liked some of it, but I really liked, of course, Death Valley '69, which is the last track on the record with Lydia Lunch singing on it.
Yeah.
And that presages what's about to happen, I think, with Evol, which is the record where I got that, and I thought, oh, now this really sounds cool, and there's a lot going on here that I wanted to know, like, they had that sound, like, oh, this is, they've figured out how to turn that into songs.
Right, yeah, because that's the thing. As they progressed, they were always cool and they had cool music. But when they actually, found a way to make all this really cool sounds and noisy stuff and still make it into actual songs, it just makes it that much more interesting. And this record, really, I'd forgotten in listening to it how many just great songs are on. There are a lot of songs on here that someone could sit down with a guitar. Probably have to tune it a little differently because I don't know.
There's still chords though. I mean, it's not like it's not like they're doing anything that you couldn't reproduce. It's really the tonalities that you can't reproduce because they got a lot of drone strings, and that's the trick.
Right.
And I didn't understand what was going on until I saw them in Jacksonville. They did a tour after Evol and maybe after Sister came out.
So you saw them pretty early.
And yeah, they played in Jacksonville with Firehose opening. It was called the Flaming Telepath Tour. And nice. Shout out to Blister Cult song. And I watched Lee Ronaldo tune the guitars while he was sitting on stage. And that was where I went, oh, that's how they're getting that sound, is that there's drone strings and the tunings are all have, these multiples of the same note.
Right. And in listening to this, I'm gonna assume that there's not many songs on here where the guitars are just tuned normally.
They're none.
Just about
I think the answer's zero.
Yeah.
I mean, very occasionally they do. I think there's one song on Sister, which is that Hot Wire My Heart, the cover of that crime song. I think they play that in regular tune.
Right. But it's like all over the place, but it's still it's also good. All right, so let's get into it. The first track is Teenage Riot.
Teenage Riot. Written about the band. You know who it's about?
No.
It's about Dinosaur. The band Dinosaur Jr.
Ah, okay.
And it's just kind of riffing on, I guess, what they were doing and their sound. Marshall Stack, was it platform shoes, Marshall Stacks, and I don't know that there were any platform shoes in Dinosaur, but the Marshall Stacks definitely.
Right.
And Dinosaur were up and coming.
Yeah.
In '88.
I remember I was actually living up in Boston when Dinosaur Jr. were coming up, and I remember the first thing I would hear about them was that they were the loudest band that people had ever seen.
Yeah.
People said, you just will not believe how loud this band is.
Yeah, Jay had two Marshalls, and one was up full blast for regular playing, and then he had another one up full blast, I think, with a switch where when he would solo, he would just turn the second one on, and so it was twice as loud when he was soloing.
All right, cool. So I didn't know. I had no idea. That's really cool, and it's a great opener. It's got that dreaming. It's got that little dreaming thing. At the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And
it's very poppy though. It's very upbeat, and it's very
once it kicks in.
Yeah. The intro part is fine. It's you got to have you get the credits before the movie,
right? Exactly.
And then that's kind of what that is.
But it kicks in, and it's just a real driving thing. And I love how Steve Shelley, the drummer, does the clicks. He's like clicking on his sticks, and then he does a double time clicking on his sticks. Like when you think maybe he'd come in, but he doesn't come in yet, and he's clicking.
Right, that's right. Time. He keeps clicking. Right,
he keeps clicking double time, and then he finally comes in, and it's really great.
And I don't know. It's Thurston's lyrics about. So it's not. He said it was about Dinosaur, but their lyrics are. I'm gonna
very a stream of consciousness.
They're a stream of consciousness. A lot of William S. Burroughs thing. Philip K. Dick was a big. They were really into Philip K. Dick at this point, and his aesthetic and his ideas, and so that comes through. But I wonder, and I remember I interviewed Kim and Thurston before they played in Tallahassee, before they played on this tour, and Kim talked about, I guess I didn't know anything about Green Street where they recorded it at the time. I wasn't hip to that or understand. She said, we were trying to, kind of do a bigger studio or a more, I think she said something about subverting the big studio thing and going in, but they're like this noisy
indie band. But for them, this record was a lot of money. They spent, I think, like $30,000. I read that it cost them to record this record, which I guess
but that was 2 weeks though at Green Street. So
right.
And the funny thing about Green Street, this who else, like what other records were made there? It was a hip hop studio.
Right, that's right.
And so Public Enemy recorded there, and a lot of the New York big hip hop records of that vintage went through Green Street, or people recorded Green Street.
And they had listened. I guess they listened to the records, and they liked the sounds that they were getting out of the studio. And they said, okay, this could work. This could be good.
Yeah. But which is odd because, and the guy that Sansone that recorded it, I mean, I don't know that he
an indie guy. He was not a Sonic Youth fan at all.
No,
he's more like a hip hop guy, whatever. But they worked. I guess they worked really good together.
Yeah,
and I'm sure the guy was sharp enough to realize that these guys are good. These guys obviously have their shit together,
right?
And, they probably realized that they were making something really good, because I think they had rehearsed a lot, like the songs that they were going to do for this record. They had played together a lot, so by the time they got in the studio, they were ready to go. They were a well-oiled machine, and even though it wasn't totally mapped out how they were going to record the songs, they had been playing together enough.
They rehearsed them.
This material that they were going to get it down. And it came out really great.
Yeah, I was digging around to see if there was any demos. There's like a couple on the recent CD re-release.
Right.
There's a couple of lead demos, I think.
Yeah, there is.
But actually, there's no for the Goo record, which was the next one. There's actually an entire set of demos that they recorded, I think, with Don Fleming and Jay Mascis at some small place. They demoed the whole Goo record because that was their major label.
Yes,
thing.
That's right.
So,
yeah, this was the last record that they did on a
indie, and I think Blast First lasted about as long as this record, and then because I never heard of Blast First again after this, and yeah,
and and it's a shame because the record did pretty good, relatively good, but
I don't know.
I mean, mismanaged label.
I don't know how. I don't know how it's sold. I don't know, and who was the distributor? Was it one of those Dutch East India, like where it would be through, Dutch East India, or let's see, other things recorded at Green Street, Public Enemy's Black Steel and Hour of Chaos, Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rocks, It Takes Two.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And 3 weeks they recorded, so $10,000 a week.
Yep. And I think that's one of the reasons also why they ended up going to a major label was, I guess, they were getting discouraged because people wanted to buy the record and couldn't get it in stores. So they said, all right, we're gonna have to get up to the next level.
Yeah, Green Street is also near where they lived. They lived in Kim and Thurston. I guess Liam lived in Chinatown.
Right.
And we had a friend who used to house sit for them, and so we went on our honeymoon to New York. December 30th, 1990, we got married, and then we went like a couple of days later. We flew to New York, and they were out of town, and he was house sitting, so we got to hang out at Kim and Thurston's and watch all of Thurston's videos, including one video of Dinosaur Jr. playing live and attempting to actually kill each other. Jay and
Lou Barlow?
Lou Barlow. Yeah, Lou Barlow actually had his bass off, and it was swinging it around his head, trying to hit Jay.
Oh, nice.
And, yeah, things were tense, I guess. It was and also, let's see, he had a, but there were no guitars in the house. There was like one acoustic guitar, so I guess that was all, somewhere else.
Yes. All right, so let's go. Number 2 song is Silver Rocket, also a Thurston Moore song, and this is a real rock. I don't know. To me, this song seems like it's about rocking out, like it's a rocking out song.
The story, as I recall, was that it's about Andy Warhol and the factory. There was the silver, like everything was silver, or everything was coated in silver, and he. That is my recollection, and I don't have any. I'm sure I read that in Forced Exposure magazine but I don't have any. And it is one of my favorite songs on the record.
Good. That sounds viable. Yeah. This song just really it's a monster. And I remember I think I saw them after this record came out. They were on that show called Night Music. That's a saxophone player. David Letterman did David Sanborn. Short-lived show called Night Music, and they were on and they played.
It was actually a couple of seasons of Night Music. It wasn't as short-lived as if you can dig around.
Well, I remember. The Pixies were on it. Yeah. And Lou Reed was on it. Yeah.
NRBQ
great
was on there.
Guest, but their performance on here, they did.
They killed it.
Oh, and it was great. And they had that the middle noise part.
Yeah.
Just the crazy noise part where they're just going crazy, and Thurston's like detuning and stuff. And then they
kick back into it.
How they come back in and finish the song.
Practice. If you do that every night, that's something I was going to bring up about Sonic Youth is like they're like the Yardbirds, because in the Yardbirds there's a point in the song where the rave up is coming, and two verses, 2 choruses, here comes the rave up, and then last chorus and out.
And their rave ups are always like insane.
Yes.
But no matter what happens, they're actually most of the songs in here are very traditional in the way that the song form will come back eventually.
Absolutely.
Finish it out. They'll come back.
Traditional song structures are not. Yeah, but the Yardbirds thing is,
That's great.
Or the Count 5, who stole from the Yardbirds. Psychotic reaction. You got to have that middle part. And this, I don't know what to say about the lyrics. It's just he's just talking about.
Burning holes in your pocket.
You got it right. But you know what? Let me see if I'm Andy Warhol.
While Barry's looking real quick, I will mention that we have a special guest in the Franklin abode. Once again, we are recording this in Brian Franklin's house.
But we've hired a guard dog because we had a problem with people wanting to get in.
Right.
And so there's a guard dog staring out the front window.
We hear a little pitter-patter. Well, it's not little pitter-pattering because Star is actually pretty huge. But that's Star walking around.
Right.
Just making sure everything's on.
All right.
So what'd you find out?
Let's see. Whose material are we stealing this from? Sonic Youth's Daydream Nation by Matthew Stearns. And he is discussing lyrics, giving Thurston the benefit of the doubt in terms of his claim, that Silver Rocket is about Andy Warhol. We can see this song as a representation of the artist himself. In this sense, Silver Rocket stands as an electrified audio portrait. Yeah, I'm not going to read any more than that. That's fine. But yeah, the Silver Rocket, Andy Warhol, the factory, and of course, was Andy still alive in '88? When did he died after that book came out? Maybe an homage. I can't remember when Andy died.
Barry's looking up when Andy died. Barry's our fact checker. We can't have an actual fact checker.
Well,
and I'm not.
February 22nd, 1987. So he had been dead for
so that makes even more sense.
Exactly.
All right, so
moving around, hit it.
Now we go into the Sprawl, which is the first Kim song.
Yeah,
and I like how the record's laid out. They got 2 Thurstons, they got 2 Kims, and then they got Lee songs. So they mix it up really good. And Kim Kim Gordon is. I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan
me
of
too.
Kim. But she's got a voice that's definitely an acquired taste, and it's like if you have someone that's not really into indie music,
they're not gonna like
and
it.
you play them a song where Kim is singing, they're gonna say it's like everything they hate about indie music.
Well, yeah, and later on she tried to sing more tough. It seemed like on this one she actually complained about. I was reading about the recording. She complained about not having enough time to record her vocals.
Oh, really?
And so she felt like she wanted to go back and redo them. And so the vocals do have a really great sort of first take quality.
They do. Very thrown out there. I mean, this is what she's saying. Does this sound simple? Fuck you. Are you for sale? Does fuck you sound simple enough?
This
you can
is,
totally picture
this is
Kim
right.
saying that to someone.
And it is. And it's a total flip-flop from Thurston's look how cool and hip I am lyrics I'm going to throw out. And a lot of his stuff does have that, like, I'm going to be, hipper than thou.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I feel like the way, how Thurston sometimes seemed like maybe he's, he's trying too hard to be cool. Kim, you could tell, is someone that does not have to try.
Right. Yeah.
She's just a badass.
And Kim is actually sort of a generation older than us. I think she's, so
she's Rat's age.
She was around, right. But she's cooler than Rat.
Rat bastard.
Right.
Yeah, she's cooler than everyone.
She is. And she was around for the 70s stuff, which had that hard-edged, it's a pretty hard edge in the early 70s.
Yes.
And I grew up on a shotgun row. Narrow houses all stuck together.
Right.
And sliding down the hill out front were the big machines, steel and rusty now, I guess. Out back was the river and that big sign down the road. That's where it all started.
And I read that some of this was inspired by the science fiction writer William Gibson.
Oh, yeah, right.
It refers to a future like big city, like a mega city.
Yeah.
And the sprawl. That's what the sprawl is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like this big...
I read they were disappointed that they found out William Gibson was younger than they were. When
That's so funny.
He seemed like and I guess I really thought the same thing. He was older than he was, but
right. And one other thing I really love about this song is it's got which a lot of the songs have this outro musical part to it. And that's really cool. Where it's sort of the main song,
the coda,
and then it's
the
coda. This really great outro that goes on, and it's great. It's a lot of their outros go on. I could listen to them forever. I feel like it could go as long, even if the song's 6 minutes long. I feel like it could have been longer because they're just so done so well.
They're good at texture and atmosphere, and just keeping you, and it's not boring. I mean,
and now we go right into the next Kim song, which 2 Kims in a row, and Across the Breeze.
Burning Across the Breeze
is song number 4. And it's got another frantic opening type thing, and it's got the a double time clicking thing again. The thing where you right. It kicks in, and it's metal. The beginning was almost metal to me. Very metal sounding. Yep. And it's got that whole intro part, and then it goes into the main part of the song, which is more of a driving song. And I just love her singing in the song. I love her singing. Good. I love the words. When she refers to herself as Satan's daughter. That she has me right there. She has me. Whenever however old I was when I heard this and I listened to it, she just had me right there.
Yeah, and it's definitely there's a seduction, sexual element to this of a boy or meeting somebody and, close your eyes and make believe you can do whatever you please.
Yeah. And she was great at that. She's great at that sexy, tough, sexy.
But tender. Tough, but tender.
Is it tender? Is there tenderness there?
Yeah, it's just too quick. Now I think I'm going to be sick. I want to know, should I stay or go? I don't know. Yeah, Kim never seemed that convincing a tough girl to me. So I always got the feeling that there was, a soft person, softer person
I'm sure,
in there.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I have a feeling.
Well, I mean, that's the character, in the songs.
Yes,
I don't know,
yeah.
I don't know Kim Gordon, but if you wanted to find a real tough girl, who would be like Joan Jett, Chrissy's, I think that she's notoriously there's no soft center.
No, yeah.
Anyone who's
right. And it's another song that's like 7 minutes long, and it doesn't seem long because it's got so many cool parts to it, and for a 7-minute song, it moves really good. And,
yep.
Another great Kim song, and now we go into
Eric's
Trip, a Lee song,
yeah.
Lee Ronaldo, and his songs definitely the most stream of consciousness type lyrics and the least song structure-y. I feel like his songs,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
And his song, the funny thing you notice about Lee is and this isn't through their guitar tunings, is that Lee's tunings are almost always very, very drony. So it'll be just like E, E, B, 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 B. And his songs, right. And Thurston's tunings have more different, closer harmonies in there in the guitar.
Right.
So Lee's songs reflect having been written in that kind of instrument. They have more of a drone element, and they sound different. They sound tonally somewhat different than songs that Kim wrote or that Thurston wrote.
And were they both part of Glenn Branca, the guitar? They both were. Okay, yeah, because that was definitely a big droning type thing, right?
Well, yeah. We should probably listen to some Glenn Branca out there because I think they were in it before he made The Ascension, which was his first album. They were already doing Sonic Youth by that point, but it's very, once you hear Glenn Branca, you go, I see. This is where that came from, is that they didn't come up with that idea
right.
at all.
Right. But they definitely took it and ran with it and created songs.
The way that Led Zeppelin took blues songs and made them into something that you were like,
Exactly.
They took that idea and made it something totally different with it.
And speaking of Andy Warhol, Eric's Trip, I did read that it was inspired by monologue, one of the characters' monologue in Chelsea Girls.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Did not know that.
Yeah, Eric Emerson's LSD-fueled monologue in Chelsea Girls. So that's some of the lyrics are inspired by that. And they're very stream of consciousness in this.
I don't know that I've seen Chelsea Girls.
No, I have not. I've seen bits and pieces of some Andy Warhol.
I saw Trash. I took a friend of mine to see Trash at some midnight movie in Orlando, and he had taken some mushrooms, some magic mushrooms, and he was not happy.
Well, speaking of trash, the next song is Total Trash.
Total Trash.
We're up to Total Trash, and this is another Thurston Moore song. And this is probably one of my favorite songs on the record. Just because it's just got such a cool riff. This riff is such a good riff. It could have been done by so many different kind of bands because it's just such a good catchy riff that the song is built around. And,
that I'm not no cow. That's the one that the lyric that I'm not no cow. It's a natural fact that I'm not no cow.
Yeah. I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. This also very stream of consciousness. It just sounds. This is one of those things though where the lyrics. I feel like some songwriters, which I do this sometimes. You just put words together because they sound good. They sound great. They fit in good.
Sure.
And
everybody gets to put whatever meaning they want on top of it.
Exactly. And this is definitely right. Yeah, that's the one thing. It's a natural fact that I'm not no cow. It's one of those things where you hear it and you think, oh, well, I'm probably mishearing it, and then you look it up.
Right.
And that is what he's saying.
Well, actually, I did get misheard a Sonic Youth lyric and had to write an article about them and for the Tallahassee, the Florida Flambeau, which was a Tallahassee newspaper. It was like the independent, weekly.
Yeah.
And so Thurston took great exception to the fact that I had misheard a lyric on
how dare you,
on Daydream Nation, and Kim said, "Well, to him, to his face, well, I told you should have put a lyric sheet in it. And so
nice.
she kind of let me off the hook there. That's where I gained some. I was like, okay, thanks, Kim,
That's where
for that.
That's where Barry officially became Team Kim.
Oh, yeah.
And to this day,
pretty much,
Team Kim.
It was born, and I would have to say that it was borne out that I picked the right team based on certain events of the past few years. I would say that.
Well, we can't always love our artists as much as we love them.
No, that's true.
That's
true.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. That's a running theme.
We call that the principle.
Yes. The album, I won't out it at this point, but the album you pick for next week, the person that you made the album was actually a sort of notoriously nice guy.
Great as his music, yes.
Which is
probably the exception to the rule.
I think so. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because there's an awful lot of bastards out there.
Or people who started off nice and then,
This song, in the middle part of it, when the out of tune, I don't know if a guitar became out of tune or they introduce an out of tune guitar.
Yeah.
But it's it's just obviously purposely out of tune, and it just makes it. It just takes it to a whole different level.
Total trash. It's total trash. If we knew what he was talking about, we might be able to work that into the symbology of the song. And
it deteriorates, and this is probably, it becomes one of the more noisier parts of the whole record. It's just like it's probably what I imagine classic, like early Sonic Youth shows could sound.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, they were definitely noisier and not as. Audience pleasing, they weren't. They weren't.
But after the noise, then it comes back to the riff. It comes back and
out the song. Yeah. They were. I think they had their eye on, and I always wonder, what did they think? Realistically, were they going to be? How far could they go?
Right.
And
I think probably. I mean, I'm imagining they got. Bigger than they had imagined at first, especially they were going to get.
Yeah.
Because they really did. I mean, but they're one of the few bands that never. I mean, I don't think you never hear people accusing them of selling out. Even when they went to a major label, whatever. Right. But you really.
I don't think with their sound. I don't think with their sound it was. I don't think it was actually possible for them to sell out.
Sell out, right. But they actually brought a lot of people to their type of music, to that music, and really opened things up a lot.
So let's take a break. All right, we're back on.
All right, we refreshed our cocktails.
Yes.
Tell everyone what the cocktail.
That's what that record got me high cocktail.
Record got me high cocktail is, Barry.
It's very simple. It's 1/3 Smirnoff vodka, 1/3 orange juice, and 1/3 either citrus flavored or unflavored seltzer. And that's over ice, and it's an extremely refreshing combo.
Very refreshing, and the good thing is we could bring Smirnoff here at Franklin's, and we know he won't drink it because he's a snob.
We especially bring it.
It's too cheap.
We especially bring it here in an old Chinese food container, soup container.
He won't touch it.
No, it has the look of something that the cat dragged in, and it wasn't even a good cat. So.
All right, so back to Daydream Nation.
Daydream Nation.
We're on song number 7, which is Hey Joni.
Hey Joni. A lead song and one of my favorite songs on the record, because this seems like someone, and he may have discussed this, but certainly I'm not privy to it, but it seems like he's someone he knows.
Well, I read that it's he's sort of supposedly titled, I don't know the song itself, but supposedly titled Hey Joni as a homage to the Hendrix song Hey Joe and to beloved singer-songwriter Joni Mitchell.
Okay, cool.
So a little shout out to Joni Mitchell, but I have a feeling the lyrics, the surrealistic lyrics, are just like it could be anything. I think that was more just for the title itself.
Yeah, in this broken town, can you still jack in and know what to do? I don't think about Joni Mitchell by this point.
Right.
I think
she's a beautiful mental jukebox.
Yeah,
a sailboat explosion.
Shots ring out from the center of an empty field. Joni's in the tall grass. a snap of electric whip crack. Yeah, this is not about Joni Mitchell.
Great, but this song really it moves, and my favorite part of this song is when he yells "kick it" and then they kick it. Right. It's so good. Yeah. I love when bands like this fall back on the normal rock tropes. It just makes it that much better. You know,
it does. And they are a rock band. By this point, the experimental... I mean, they went back and did some experimental records that sold like 15 copies. You know, they had some instrumental experimental records late in their oeuvre. There's that word. That, you know, you can go and listen to, but they're... I think they're a rock band.
They're a rock band,
all that stuff
and
is
this
in
is
there.
a rock band at their peak of playing together as a unit. And all of them, just like Steve Shelley, just inventives.
You know what band he came from?
No.
He was in a band called the Crucifix. That was a hardcore band.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he, I guess Bob Burt, either quit or bailed out. Bob Burt went on to play in Pussy Galore.
Right.
And also in
because Steve Shelley came in like
after Bad Moon Rising.
After Bad Moon,
and before Evil.
Okay, and also I noticed in this, obviously Kim Gordon's never been known as a
Stanley Clarke.
As a bass virtuoso.
Correct.
But she plays some really cool shit on this.
She does.
And her choice of notes that she goes to sometimes, which sound, you would think a normal, like a regular musician bass player probably wouldn't go there, and she goes there, and sometimes it really just makes the song go in like
her
a really cool direction.
Her actual playing and watching her playing reminds me of Dee Dee Ramone.
Yeah, definitely.
And she used to play this ovation bass, and the fucking things, they weigh like, for me it was heavy to play the thing, and it's and I always wondered how she managed to hold that stupid ovation bass. But I got something lighter and easier to deal with. A Hofner, that's the ultimate.
Right.
The hollow body.
I could not picture Kim Deal playing on.
No, not Kim Deal. Kim Gordon.
I said Kim Deal. Well, I can't picture Kim Deal playing golf.
No.
More than Kim Gordon, though.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kim.
Hey Joni's one of my faves on the record, and over time, I remember at the time sort of being, it's a Lee song, but over time I've gotten fonder and fonder of the Lee songs. They seem to be because there's not that overt attempt to be, hip.
Right. Yeah, they're very natural, like weird. They're weird naturally. They feel like they come from a very
he's personal. At least if not from personal experience, then from a relatable, or he's trying to relate something to you instead of just have some candy popcorn, have some mental candy popcorn.
And now we have Providence, which is probably the strangest song on the record. It's not really a song, but it's very cool.
It's integral to the album.
I think. Very integral, and
because I feel like Providence is it's a crossing point in the record.
Right.
Things change after the song Providence.
Right. Things get darker. Maybe
they do.
It gets a little darker.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
And Providence, to me, basically what it is it's noodling on piano. Like Thurston, maybe I'm assuming someone noodling on a piano, and it sounds like it could have been recorded, very whatever on a cassette.
Or something. Yeah.
Noodling on a piano, and then a couple of phone messages from Mike Watt
of the Minutemen and Fire Hose fame.
Right, which could have been on that tour you saw them on. Maybe the message, could he have left it then when you saw them?
Could have been.
I'm sure they toured together a lot. They played together a
lot.
lot. And it's basically him yelling at Thurston, saying, asking him if he ever found those chords.
Did you check here?
Did you check here?
And the key phrase in there, which is kind of hard to understand unless you know Mike Watt speak, is You gotta watch the Moto, Thurston. Your memory just goes out the window.
Yeah. Now, what does he mean? But now I'm assuming he meant like weed. Smoking. Okay,
Moto is Mike Watts. One of his terms for weed.
Just from context, you know he's talking about, you got to smoke
your memory goes out the window.
Short-term memory.
And it's very much Mike Watt, his boisterous and...
So you have the tinkling piano, you have the Mike Watt message, and you have the sound of an the tubes of an amplifier tubes, just like baking.
Overheating.
Yeah, baking, overheating.
Which I'm very familiar with.
And it's a really fun thing to listen to. Like you listen to it if you listen to it on headphones, and you really just get into it. It's got an eerie quality, and it's got like sort of a sad quality to me. Like because it's like when bands are on tour, they're away from home, and they're like
lonely,
sort of
dark. I'm down here. You assume that Watt. For some reason, I always picture that it's dark and Watt's in a payphone.
Right. And I love, and it's just, and Mike Watt's so great. I mean, you've met him before, and I've met him, and just the way he calls Thurston Watt, Watt, and it's great.
It's like the mechanic calling you from the garage. Yeah, your radiator's fucked. You're gonna need a new radiator.
And for some reason I read, now this sounds like something they would do, but I read that they released this as a single in England.
Come on now.
I was released at some point. It was released. Yes, Providence was. I don't know if it was. Maybe it was the B side of a single, but it was on like a release aside from Daydream Nation, which is really weird because it's not even really.
And it leads into my favorite track on the record.
Oh, is Candle? Yeah, Candle is a great song. And it's sort of like so I guess you could call it a title track because the painting, the cover of Daydream Nation
is a
painting,
Candle.
Gerhard Richter, painting,
right,
called Kurze, which means candle. So,
really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Well, it's the magic of the internet. It makes you seem like you know all this shit.
And the thing I like most about the song Candle is the descending chords that are sort of the what the song is built around. There's a my cohort in the podcast does not like jazz, but I'm a jazz fan, and there is a jazz quality.
Is that jazzy? Because I really like it. I mean, I do love it.
Is jazzy.
I know what you're talking about, and the musicality in the song is really cool, and it's really good. And God knows, I guess. I mean, it sounds like something I could figure out on a guitar, like without a special tuning.
Yeah,
but it's done. You can tell it's definitely done in.
It's kind of like a minor seventh chord or something, but. And then it goes. It's like, and it goes down a whole step, and then it goes down another whole step. So it doesn't stay in a. It doesn't stay in a mode. It actually moves in a jazz way through different modes. But whatever, you don't have to worry about that.
And I feel like this song has to be somewhat autobiographical because he says, "I am the cocker on the rock.
Yeah,
wind is whipping through my stupid mop." And Thurston does have a stupid mop.
Yeah, right. He does.
There's no denying.
My other theory,
is him.
I've never investigated this. My other theory is that it's about crack cocaine.
Oh, and, I am the cocker.
No, keeps me up awake. Go crystal cracking.
Oh,
and
okay.
New York, there was a lot of crack cocaine in New York at that time, in that period, because I knew some people living in New York, and they actually had to move back to Tallahassee, and it was because ready access to crack cocaine turned out to be
kids.
He started going down and he started going down and just walking down the street and hanging out and smoking crack with people, and before you know it,
the people we have known, huh, Barry?
Yeah, and there's a real bad story there. But
sure
a genuinely
you don't have too many good stories about people.
Sure, I do. Of course I do.
No, I don't know. Usually they're
just people like people like a tragedy, you know.
You tell me the bad ones, I guess.
Okay.
I was thinking because when he says "I am the cocker on the rock," I think of that expression, "cock of the walk."
Yes. Oh yeah,
cock of the
yeah.
walk. So
yeah.
"I'm the cocker on the rock" sounds sort of like
it does.
I'm the cock of the walk. So I thought maybe that.
We could be totally wrong, and
but I like your theory of the crack rock thing, and I have a feeling that probably plays in there somehow.
There's another tell in it. Let me bring up the lyrics again. God damn it.
I'm sure it's not an homage to Joe Cocker, so
fairly certain that Joe Cocker was not
on their radar. Probably.
I got to change my mind before it burns out.
Okay,
so
nice.
I can't wait. I can't stay a candle. So there's images of things burning out in there. But then there's some beautiful imagery in there as well. I see a falling snow girl walking Broadway.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's nice.
It's a really great song, and it goes into. I would say to me, this is one of the stranger songs on the record. Rain King is number 10, and that's another Lee Ronaldo song.
Yeah,
and Rain King is definitely an out there song. It's probably the least traditional song type thing. It's the noise. It's one of the noisiest ones on the record.
And the lyrics are stream of consciousness, and I think maybe cut up. There's some cut up William Burroughs aspect to the lyrics in this.
Yeah, definitely, because it sounds like at some point that he's just throwing
he's got stuff that sounds cool together,
right?
And it makes some sort of imagery in your head, but it's not. That was the Burroughs idea, was that it was to break up the thought processes into something, to get something new by breaking these traditional things like in the middle, and then so you don't know what.
But it does sound great.
It does.
Crossfire Rain King with his Cadillac Kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Marries every dictionary from his train yard bliss.
That's it.
His lips a fountain. His daylight. When he says his daylight sparks, the way he says that is really great. And then there's the this wah.
Yes.
And then it kicks back in.
Yes. I feel like every one of the band stepped up for this record and
absolutely
and contributed really top-notch stuff, which is unusual for bands to have that, where everyone usually there'll be a band and then the main person in the band will have the song you really like, and then they'll be this one's got to throw a song, this one's got to throw a song in, but for this record all three of them really
I was trying to think if Lee even had a song on Sister. I know on Evol he had the thing that's about the car wreck, and Tough Gnarl. No, Pipeline Kill Time. No, that's the Lee thing. So he definitely got more screen time. And worthwhile.
Oh, great stuff!
Time.
Totally great stuff. Nothing skip over. No skip overs.
Right. It's not like Electric Ladyland where you get to the what's Noel Redding songs and you're like, all right. Yeah, well.
Okay, now we move on to Kissability.
You've got Kissability. The
Kim song. This song is I love. This is her sarcastic. Well, she's always sarcastic.
Ooh, yeah, this is the movie producer talking to This is a movie producer talking to somebody, a starlet he wants to fuck.
Yes.
But don't you trust me?
Right. Her delivery in this song reminds me. Are you a fan of Pulp at all? Jarvis Cocker.
Yeah, sure,
she reminds me of a female Jarvis Cocker.
Yeah.
And
I'm wondering whether the filmmaker, remember Richard Kern?
Yes, Richard Kern.
And so they were. He was around
stuff with him. They did stuff with him.
And
he didn't do the Death Valley '69
video.
He did.
He did. I believe that's a Richard Kern thing.
Lydia Lunch. He did stuff with Lydia Lunch.
For sure. He was in that New York underground scene.
Right. So this is Kim's version of a love song, I think.
Or no, I think this is a lion scumbag is trying to.
Right. Yeah.
You're so soft. You make this is like stuff that's been said to her.
Yes. Right. Yes.
You go,
but her delivery is like spot on for this song. It's so good. And
you got twistability, which also you're easy to manipulate.
Right.
You could be a star. Ain't hard.
And it's also a really cool song. It's got really cool
there's a break in it.
Yeah, it's great. It's just so good. I mean, you can take songs on this and make it into just a regular good indie record without all the noise stuff in it. It would be good. It wouldn't be the masterpiece that Daydream Nation is, but you could, because there's so many good hooks on this record and good just parts.
I want to apologize at this point if this comes across as like sort of a more older and hipper, like Beavis and Butthead. Yeah, it was really cool.
I was worrying that our podcast would devolve as we drink with devolvement, and that was great. That was great.
Yeah, we're keeping up. It's fine. We're good.
All right. Speaking of parts, we're
the trilogy.
The trilogy of the record, which I guess. Sometimes it's listed as the one song, and sometimes it's sort of listed as three songs.
It's three separate songs, but I see they they go together, and it's got my favorite. Some good Thurston lyrics on. It's got some really intense. I think that. I remember reading. There's some Philip K. Dick stuff in this. Flashing eyes. They're flashing across to me. This was relates to a Philip K. Dick book called Valis, where Philip K. Dick, who was a total fucking speed freak, had a religious experience where he saw in a flash. He saw that we weren't living in the present; that we were actually all living in. The Roman time or Christian, early Christian times when the Romans were in charge, and
wow,
and so he wrote this book Valis about that, and that there was this. It was his. He died not too long after that. He died in 1982, but that's. It's got to be some.
So it's
of this.
Like New York City, but
it's overlaid,
right,
or something.
Roman. I can see that.
There's a definitely a scary part to The Wonder where the music has an intensity and a darkness that goes very much with what he's saying.
Right. Yeah, because I feel like this whole last part of the trilogy is very tied into where they were living then, like New York City, and especially New York City that time. Because I don't know, did you ever visit New York City like in the late '80s?
I loved it.
I was in a band. My band went on tour and we played CBGBs in like '91 or something.
Yeah.
And that was when New York was still like
it was
mean city, man.
Yeah. I was there.
There were still drug dealers on the corners. There were prostitutes walking around. It was still the mean.
Was there in
streets.
I was there in '87 when I was playing with Mo Tucker and with Half Japanese and
name dropper. That's awesome. If there's names you're going to drop, that's not a bad name to drop. That's awesome.
It was a long time ago.
We will, at some point in the future, we will revisit Barry.
I mean, it was a weird. We could. It was an odd time.
Yeah.
But when I played with Mo at we played at Maxwell's. And Kim and Thurston came and saw the show, so that was cool.
Yeah, look at you! Look at Barry Stockley.
They didn't come to see me, did they? Who did they come to see?
You don't have to point that.
Oh, the drummer from the Velvets. That's right.
Yes, but you were there.
I was there, and I chatted with them for a minute. But
that's awesome.
They were not there to see me.
I'm impressed. I never. This is the first time hearing this.
Well, so you don't want to.
I'm just as impressed as you all are listening to that right now.
It was at the time. It was I was awed, but
I know. Well, usually, as you get older, you'll learn. You meet your heroes, and you're disappointed.
People are disappointing. I'm just going to go ahead and say
everyone.
it. Right. People are disappointing generally, so,
Okay, so this... The Wonder is A. That's A.
Yes.
This is the trilogy. So
Yeah.
The Wonder is A, and then it sort of has like the outro, one of their favorite like little musical outros.
Yeah.
And then it transitions into Hyperstation, which is B, which has this ominous slow build instrumental, really cool. And this, I feel like this is definitely walking around the streets of New York. Him walking around the streets of New York.
I can confirm that that's what this is.
Yeah, like, but sort of dreamlike, like smashed up against the car at 3 a.m. The kids dressed up for basketball,
actually,
beat me in my head.
Their sound man was a guy named Terry. He talked about this, and he talked about how great the lyrics were, because it was, walking around. And a total another amp.
Totally autobiographical. I told another amp I'm calling in sick. Yep.
Yeah, and I guess the story was at the time Thurston was working as a selling like ice cream cones out of an ice cream like a cooler, one of those street vendor selling.
Really? Thurston was?
I think so, yeah. Maybe that was before that, but he's calling in sick. It was obviously when he had a job. So.
Oh, right. But he was okay. That's it. I was just rolling around the floor at CBGB's. I'm not going in the
right. I'd say that's one. In fact, I'd say that's one of the most iconic moments on the record. Is the smashed up against the car at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
Bomb
right.
trash,
and then this is also where you get the title of the record in there, because they mentioned
Daydream
Nation.
Exactly.
And it's sort of it brings together what the whole record's about.
Yeah, and, summertime in New York City, and
Daydream Days and the Daydream Nation, and then it goes into part. So you have part A and part B is Hyperstation, and then part Z, which is Eliminator Junior. And I read the reason they called it Eliminator Junior was because they thought it sounded like a combination of, they think the song sounds like a combination of Dinosaur Jr. and ZZ Top.
Yeah.
Eliminator era ZZ Top.
Which is nobody. That may have seemed.
I don't hear maybe Dinosaur Jr. a little, just because it's aggressive. It's kind of an aggressive rock song, but it doesn't sound like Dinosaur Jr.
Don't you remember when Billy Gibbons? Don't you remember him singing "Tears Cruise Away," packed, and then took a shit? Don't you remember when he sang that great ZZ Top hit? Dark stains on his pants.
So this is like a really frantic ending to the record. Yeah. And I just read, I had no idea, the whole time I listened to this record, and I listened to this record a lot back in the day, I had no idea that it was about the Preppy Killer. This part right here, Eliminator Jr., was about the Preppy Killer, Robert Chambers.
Oh my God.
And then it makes sense when you hear that and you read what Kim's singing, Tears Cruise Away, packed and then took a shit. The sky is ours, dark stains on his pants. Enough to make him blush around the bone. Take a walk in the park. Shit, yeah.
Right.
It's a poor boy, a rich boy, a poor rich boy coming right through me.
Yeah.
Rich boy, poor rich boy coming right through me. If anyone old enough to remember the Preppy Killer, it was a very it was a scandalous thing that happened in the 80s in New York. Of Robert Chambers guy, who was like your classic college douchebag, preppy guy.
Frat,
right. And he said it was just rough sex that went too far, but he ended up killing this poor girl, and that's what the lyrics are. That, and it's when you know that, and then you listen to it again.
I did not know that.
It is chilling.
Let me read the. Death of Jennifer Levine or Levin.
Yes, that's it. Exactly.
Levin's strangled, half-naked corpse covered in cuts, bruises, and bite marks was found by a cyclist in Central Park near 5th Avenue and 83rd Street, behind the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
So, what a perfect ending for a New York record. It's just like it ends with that, and then the song just goes into a double time, and then it just ends.
Yep.
It's over. Now, like most of their songs in this, they have denouements, they have little things, but this song just ends and that's it. The record's over.
Yeah. And that's Daydream Nation. It was, and after Daydream Nation, Goo was the next
major label. They signed to David Geffen company.
DGC, right?
DGC with. Nirvana ended up signing with them
that's
too. Right. And and they still put out really good records.
They did.
Really good records. I like I like a lot of their later records.
But this was sort of just like the way Providence in the album is a crossing point from one place to another place. Definitely Daydream Nation is a crossing place from one place to another place.
Absolutely. And it's one of those records that lives up to its hype. Lives up to the hype.
It does. Yep.
Because you could say, some people say, oh, it's like it's a classic record or whatever, but it really is. There's no way you could.
It's on a lot of best of lists.
Yeah, as it should be, and there are songs on here that you could even play for people that don't care for any of this type of music, anything, and they'd still listen to it and they go, oh, that's pretty good. Pretty good. That's good. There's no denying it.
All right, do you want to talk about our next where we're going next time?
Sure. I think I decided we were switching off records, so we're going to do Hunky Dory.
What? That's not what you said.
That's exactly what I said, and Barry got very excited.
I did.
Because how could you not? If you don't get excited, if you don't like Hunky Dory by David Bowie,
man,
I don't want to know you.
No.
I don't want to know you. You shouldn't. Don't listen to this podcast. Don't listen to that episode, and don't ever listen again because you're an idiot.
Records. That's true. It is. All right. So we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
This record got me. That record got me out. Which one? That record, not this record.
That's Barry Stock.
That's Rob Elba. We're out.
I'm the twisted name on Garbo's eyes. I'm living proof of Churchill's lies. I'm destiny. I'm torn.